My name is Maya Collins, and at 32, I was finally living a life I'd built with my own two hands. I'm a data analyst in Tampa, Florida, climbing fast at a top tech firm and earning more than I ever thought possible for a girl who once counted quarters to keep the lights on. It's a long way from the night my childhood ended. I was 9 when my world cracked. My mother, Lorraine Pike, whispered something I couldn't hear, wheeled a scuffed suitcase to the door, and didn't look back. She left me and my dad, Thomas Collins, with a mortgage, a rusted sedan, and a stack of bills that didn't care about grief. I learned early that the world doesn't pause just because your heart breaks. For years, I powered forward. I studied. I worked. I hustled. I told myself I'd sealed that door for good. Then, one autumn evening, a knock on my apartment door ripped the past wide open. I opened it to find Lorraine smiling like a game show host, and beside her, the boy she raised instead of me, my half-brother Dylan Pike. It turns out someone had told her what I now made. She came to collect. Their mouths were full of numbers and entitlement. Tuition is $60,000. A little help every month. $3,000 should do. We're family. The words felt like a punch wrapped in perfume. This wasn't a reunion. It was a withdrawal request. If you've ever been hit by family betrayal, tell me where you're watching from and what happened to you. Your story matters here. And if you want more true, raw, emotional stories, subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter. I wish I could say I slammed the door, but I didn't, because wounded daughters don't always make clean choices. Sometimes we still chase a version of mom we never got. I grew up in Indiana, in a small rental with thin walls and a refrigerator that hummed like it was praying. After Lorraine left, Dad ran Collins Corner, a diner with cracked vinyl booths and a bell above the door that rang like hope every time someone walked in. He flipped pancakes at dawn, scrubbed the flat top after midnight, and fell asleep with a counting sheet stuck to his cheek. We didn't have money. We had will. At 13, I started babysitting, then stocking shelves at a corner store, then cleaning the houses of people who pretended not to see me while I dusted their mantles. I delivered newspapers at 5 a.m., memorized algebra at lunch, and did homework by flashlight when the power company reminded us we were late again. Dad tried to give me childhood. I gave him groceries instead. School was the one place I could turn chaos into patterns. Numbers made sense. People didn't. By 17, I had a wall of medals, a head full of calculus, and a full scholarship to a state university for data analytics. Tuition covered, but living wasn't. So I served eggs in a campus diner before class, sorted files in a law office on weekends, and mopped quiet offices at night until my shoulders burned. I didn't have a safety net. I had a calendar. The grind became a ladder. An internship turned into an offer in Tampa. Within 5 years, I was leading projects, mentoring interns, and sending $500 a month to Dad in Indiana. Roof repairs, a new fridge when the old one died, brake pads on his car. He always said the same thing when I offered more. Keep your money, kid. I just want your voice on Sundays. Lorraine's voice arrived once a year in the form of a birthday card that said, "Hope you're well." No calls, no visits, just paper with a stranger's handwriting. I told myself I didn't need her. It was late October when the knock came, sharp, rehearsed. I was stirring soup, finishing a sprint plan in my head, when I opened the door and time went sideways. Lorraine looked polished in a way I'd never seen before. Salon hair, pearls too perfect to be real, smile too wide to trust. Dylan leaned against the frame, hoodie up, expression bored, thumbs tap-tapping on an expensive phone. Maya, she breathed, arms opening like I'd been at sleepaway camp, not deserted. I didn't hug back. They stepped into my apartment. Lorraine's eyes scanned everything, the clean lines, the skyline view, the framed degrees. Pride never crossed her face. Assessment did. She made small talk that felt like reading lines. Then her voice shifted. I heard you're doing so well. Senior role. Great salary. She leaned in. Dylan's tuition is $60,000 this year. We just need $3,000 a month to stay afloat for a bit. Family helps family, right? Dylan finally looked up, smirked, and propped his sneakers on my table. Nice place, he said. Kinda small for someone making bank. There it was, the demand wrapped in a dig. I asked how she found me. Lorraine waved it away. Old friends, little birdies. Vague, too vague. I told them I needed time. Lorraine's smile tightened at the edges. Dylan muttered, stingy, as if I'd stolen his allowance. They left a film on the air I couldn't scrub off. The next morning, Lorraine texted a cafe address. Let's talk properly. I told myself I'd get closure. What I got was a script. The cafe was full of steam and noise. They were in the corner. Lorraine reached for my hand like cameras were watching. Your father kept you from me, she said, eyes wet. He shut me out. I tried, Maya. I really did. It was a neat inversion of a story I'd lived. Dad dialing numbers that went nowhere, little me waiting by a window that only showed weather. I let her talk until the words curled on themselves. We're barely getting by, she said, voice softening into urgency. Dylan's future is at stake. Dylan didn't even look up. I need a car to get around campus. Something decent. A Mustang would be fine. And a new phone. This one's trash. I set my cup down. So, $60,000 for tuition, $3,000 a month, a $30,000 car, and a new phone. From me. Dylan rolled his eyes. You're loaded. What's the big deal? Lorraine leaned in with weaponized warmth. You've got so much now. Share a little. We're family. Family. Where was family when we were begging the electric company for a payment plan? Where was family when I biked 5 miles at dawn to throw newspapers in the dark? I worked for everything I have, I said, keeping my voice steady. Dad and I had nothing after you left. I'm not a bank. Her expression cracked. The warmth vanished. You're selfish, she snapped. After everything I sacrificed to bring you into this world. The line that tries to turn birth into a lifetime invoice. Dylan added, figures. Dad was right about you, Dad, meaning her husband, not mine. A man who raised Dylan to believe women's wallets are community property. Eyes turned. The cafe went quiet. I stood, chair scraping tile like a warning. We're done, I said. Lorraine's fingers dug into my arm. You'll regret this, she hissed. I walked out into a sky that didn't know how to comfort me. I wanted to shake, to cry, to scream. Instead, I went home and worked because work is the only thing that ever kept me from falling through. 2 hours later, my buzzer rang again. Lorraine and Dylan stood at my door like they'd paid rent. I should have called the police. I let them in. They sat. Lorraine asked too many pointed questions about my job and accounts. I answered vaguely and stepped to the kitchen for water. When I came back, Dylan was at my desk with my laptop open. "What are you doing?" He didn't flinch. "Just checking." My bank's login page glowed on the screen. My stomach dropped through the floor. Lorraine moved to cover him. "We were curious. You've got so much. Why hide it?" "Because you take whatever isn't nailed down," I didn't say. I pulled the laptop away, fingers shaking, and checked the logs. Failed logins, a password reset page, security alerts spiking like a heart monitor. A new email notification slid in, forwarded from Dad's account. It contained a thread about my role in ballpark salary, sent to Lorraine. Dad would never share my details. His email had been hacked weeks ago. "You hacked Dad," I said, looking straight at her. Color drained from her face and then came back as anger. "Your father is a failure," she spat. "That diner? Pathetic. I had to know how you turned out so well." Dylan snorted. "He's a loser. You don't owe him." I stepped between them and my door. My voice came out lower than I expected. "Get out, or I call the police." Lorraine sneered, but there was a tremor in it. Dylan muttered, "Chill," but took a step back. "You're making a mistake, Maya," she said, gathering her purse like a threat. "We're not done." They left. I locked the door, slid to the floor, and shook the way I hadn't let myself shake in years. Then I opened my laptop and went to work, because if there's one thing data taught me, it's how to follow a trail. I called Dad first. His voice was warm and tired, the way it always is after the lunch rush. I told him everything. He sighed softly. "That's Lorraine," he said. "No excuses, just a map of a woman who always wanted more than she was willing to earn." He checked his email while I stayed on the line. "Password changed," he said. "Weeks ago." My chest tightened. She hadn't just targeted me, she'd violated him again. The next morning, I called Mark Sullivan, a lawyer I trust because he doesn't confuse kindness with weakness. I sent him screenshots, login attempts, reset pages, the forwarded email from Dad's compromised account. "This is serious," Mark said. "We move fast." We filed for a restraining order in Orlando, citing unauthorized access, harassment, and attempted fraud. It was a stack of papers, a long day in a long hallway, and a judge who listened with the face of someone who's seen too much. Within weeks, the court granted a permanent restraining order. No contact, no visits, no accidental run-ins. Violations would mean handcuffs. 2 days later, my bank pinged me. Someone tried to transfer $10,000 from my savings. Two-factor authentication blocked it. I logged every detail and sent it to Mark. He filed a follow-up. The paper shield got steel ribs. I should have felt triumphant. What I felt was hollow. Lorraine wasn't just after money. She wanted the life I'd built to feel fragile. I refused to let her be right. The fallout found Lorraine faster than any lawsuit could. People talk. Aunt Ruth, Lorraine's older sister, called me one afternoon after the lunch rush at the diner. "Sweetheart," she said, voice heavy with the kind of regret you collect over a lifetime, "I should have reached out sooner. Your mother's been like this since we were kids. Always borrowing, always lying, always leaving. I'm sorry you learned it the hard way. It didn't heal me. It did, however, explain me." Lorraine and Dylan drifted to a smaller town where none of the bridges they burned could be seen from the highway. People stopped answering their calls. Debts have a way of calling back. Meanwhile, I finally did something for myself that wasn't about defense, but design. With help from my friends Kara, a social worker, Nina, a fellow analyst, and Ryan, my neighbor who knows everyone, I launched a small scholarship and mentorship fund for teens from families like mine, kids who needed a laptop more than a lecture, a bus pass more than a pep talk. We called it the Porch Light Project, after the bulb Dad left on until I made it home from shifts. The first time we awarded grants, I cried in the bathroom and then came out smiling like I hadn't. Giving felt like reclaiming. Therapy helped too. Dr. Ellen Brooks sat across from me and said the sentence I didn't know I was waiting to hear. You are not the reason your mother left. Her choices are not your homework. I pinned that line to my fridge right next to Dad's diner specials. Most nights I still call Dad. He still says, "Just hearing your voice is my lottery ticket." We laugh. We plan a vacation we both know we'll take someday, and not someday soon. And on a different shelf, I keep the stack of birthday cards that say, "Hope you're well." I don't reread them. I don't burn them. I let them sit, proof that some apologies never arrive, and you survive anyway. Now, quick question for you. Have you ever had to draw a hard boundary with family and keep it? Tell me what helped you hold the line. Your words might help someone else tonight. And if you're into real, raw stories like this, subscribe. We publish new episodes that hurt a little and heal a lot. The first night after the restraining order, I barely slept. Not from fear, from realization. You spend years craving an apology that never comes. Then one day, you realize it wouldn't fix anything, even if it did. That's the night I stopped wanting closure. I wanted peace instead. A week after the order went into effect, the first attempt came. Someone tried to reset my passwords again, my utility account, my email, even my work login. It was subtle, but not subtle enough for a data analyst to miss. Every pattern leaves a fingerprint. Every liar repeats their rhythm. I built a digital wall around my life. Two-factor authentication, encrypted drives, new routers, new passwords. I even moved to a new apartment across the city. Dad offered to fly down and handle things, but I told him no. I already did, I said, legally. He laughed softly. You always were the one with a plan. 6 weeks later, the consequences found them. Lorraine had been using my father's old business contacts to borrow money, pretending to raise funds for Dylan's tuition. It took one of Dad's suppliers to call me and ask, "Is this legit?" for the scam to unravel. When people realized they'd been conned, calls poured in. To the police, to their landlord, to anyone who'd listen. Lorraine and Dylan were forced out of their apartment, and her new husband, the man she left Dad for, finally walked away. The universe doesn't always balance itself, but sometimes it keeps receipts. Months went by. For the first time in my life, silence wasn't punishment. It was peace. Therapy helped me unlearn guilt, but healing wasn't linear. Sometimes I'd see a mother and daughter laughing at brunch and feel that ache again, the one that whispers, "Why couldn't I have that?" But then I'd remember, I did have a parent who stayed. He just didn't wear perfume or send birthday cards. Dad. I booked him a flight to Tampa that spring. He walked into my apartment, looked around, and said, "You've made it, kiddo." Proud doesn't even cover it. We spent the weekend cooking diner food in my kitchen, pancakes and hash browns, the same way we used to. He told me stories about the customers who still asked about me, how he kept my photo by the register. When he left, he slipped an envelope into my hand. Inside was a note. You already paid me back 100 times over. Now use it to help someone who needs it more. Inside was a check. Every dollar I'd ever sent him. That's how the Porch Light Project really began. The scholarship took off faster than I expected. We started small, 2 students, then 10, then 30. Each kid who walked into our office reminded me of the girl I used to be. Tired, scared, but not broken. We didn't just give them money. We gave them mentorship, resume help, coding workshops, the kind of invisible scaffolding no one gave me. My friend Kara once said, "You turned pain into infrastructure." I laughed, but she was right. I wasn't just healing myself. I was breaking the cycle that Lorraine passed down like bad DNA. A year after the restraining order, an email slipped through the spam filter. It was from an address I didn't recognize, but the subject line froze me. Please read. It's important. It was from Dylan. Maya, I know you have no reason to believe me. Mom's sick. She's been in and out of hospitals. I didn't know how bad things would get. I was angry, stupid, and wrong. She keeps asking for you. Just wanted to let you know. I sat there, rereading it. Part of me wanted to delete it. Another part, the one that still remembered the smell of pancakes and homework and loss, couldn't. I didn't reply. I didn't owe them my healing, but I did call the hospital. She was there. I didn't go. Some stories don't need one last chapter to be complete. Sometimes mercy looks like silence. Years later, when people ask about my family, I tell them this. My dad ran a diner. He taught me work, loyalty, and love. My mother taught me what happens when you forget those things. Both lessons made me who I am. Family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's the people who stay in your corner long after the crowd leaves. I learned that the hard way. Have you ever had to walk away from family? Not because you stopped loving them, but because they stopped loving right? Share your story below. Someone out there might need to hear it. And if this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to Elderly Stories, where every story is proof that pain can become purpose.